What was the biggest bullet you dodged? I stayed up all night before a day trip to Hong Kong. You know that days when you haven't slept. You're just kinda robotic and doing the human stuff. Nearly zero awareness of anything. Well, I went across the street and my friend behind me snatched my shoulder and yanked me backwards just in time to feel the whoosh of a double-decker bus breezing past us. I just looked at him like, oh, thanks man, and it took a whole extra minute for my brain to process I would be fucking dead had he not grabbed me. I think I saved a baby's life once. It was in a city center, crossing a main road with a wild bunch of other people. The dad was pulling the pram behind him onto the pavement while he texted on his phone. And the dumb fudger didn't realize he'd left the pram just there on the road while he himself was on the pavement. Everyone kinda ignored it while the traffic lights kept that section of road clear, but then the lights changed and the fucking moron still hadn't looked up from his phone while a huge double-decker was bearing down on his offspring. Out of the whole crowd I was the only one to push forward and pull the pram onto the pavement. The complete imbecile gave a grunt of surprise and dropped his phone as the bus whooshed past, and he realized he'd utterly failed in his parenting responsibilities, which was some consolation. I hope it shattered. Forget the phone shattering. I'd hope he reflects on that moment often. My newborn needed to be rushed to a super high level NICU to be put into a state of induced hypothermia because he only had hours before he would suffer permanent brain damage. I live in a small town in the middle of nowhere. The small town next door just barely upgraded their hospital to have that hypothermia suite, one of only a few in Texas. He's doing great. No sign of any damage. Our daughter is a NICU baby too. The only piece of unsolicited advice I will ever give expecting parents is when you're checking out hospitals, make sure to check out the NICU and select a hospital with a good one. You probably won't need it, but if you do you'll be happy it's there. Daughter is 4 now, and a healthy little spitfire. Glad your son is too. Not changing jobs in early 2020 would have been a short-lived promotion after early restructuring and layoffs. I changed jobs March 9th, 2020. 2 days later my city shut down and everyone was sent to work from home. My new company committed to zero covered layoffs. The company I left laid off about 80% of my department. Dodged a bullet, haha. Hubs, my sister, and I were hanging out around my parents' house on a very boring 4th of July. We decided to wash my husband's new car sitting in the driveway because it was hot out and an excuse to play in the house. We were literally walking out the front door and I said, hey, we should eat lunch before we get all wet and stuff, and everyone agreed. So we turned around and went back inside. I was warming up something in the microwave, a hot pocket I think, and all of a sudden I hear the loudest bang I think I've ever heard from the direction of the front door. Hubs and I look at each other wide-eyed and run outside. I was greeted by the back end of a Crown Vic, smoking something fierce, plowed into the tree in the middle of our yard. For a split second I was just stunned. Then, screamed to my sister inside to call 911. I looked over to the driveway at the car we had been planning to wash just 5 minutes ago. Totaled. Completely totaled. Brand new 2011 G6. Destroyed. Guy hit it so hard it did a complete 90-degree turn across the driveway. He actually hit it so hard, it ended up ricocheting and hitting the other cars in the driveway, mauling 2 other cars. Yard was fucked. Crown Vic was fucked. Tree was fucked. We immediately assumed it was drunk driving. Being the 4th and all, I went over to the driver's side and found a very old man. Very bewildered. Unable to comprehend what I was saying but conscious. I will never forget the look he gave me, confused, helpless, scared. I was on the line with the paramedics as they sent over the ambulances and tried my best to follow their instructions. My sister was only 14 at the time, so I handled the call. Turns out dude was diabetic and had passed out behind the wheel due to low blood sugar. Hit the gas pedal with his weight as he passed out and was plowing down our residential street at about 65 miles per hour. He jumped the curb, drove down the sidewalk past another house, then slammed into my husband's car, and subsequently, the tree. If we had been anywhere near that yard/driveway, I have no doubt one or all of us would have been seriously injured or dead. It was sheer dumb luck and timing that saved us. Huge bullet dodged. Or should I say, huge car dodged. I will never judge myself for craving Hot Pockets again. One day, they just might save my life. Many years ago, my flight had just landed at Chicago O'Hare and the plane was taxiing when the pilot suddenly slammed on the brakes. People were literally thrown forward against the seat in front of them. A few seconds later, another plane, taking off I think, went screaming by right in front of us. No explanation was given, though our imaginations provided a lot of gory details. Not me, but I had a field service engineer working on one of my big robotic liquid handlers. He decided to bypass the safety pin that prevents the heads from moving while the cover is open, while he had a diagnostic program queued up on the computer. What he didn't know was that the instant he reinserted the safety pin, the machine would execute the queued instructions and start moving. And he had a hand inside it right in the danger zone. I grabbed his shoulder and yanked his hand out an instant before it was crushed. He stopped ignoring me when I told him to stop bypassing safety lockouts to save a few minutes. Wow. I'm sure this guy isn't completely responsible for you guys putting a safety system in place, but it sounds like he certainly had a hand in it. Was going to move to a different apartment complex last month. Got injured at work and lost hours. Therefore, couldn't come up with the deposit money in time. Last week some Ashad was cooking meth and caught the building on fire. Didn't lend money to a friend because I was broke. Few months later he disappeared with several thousands he had stolen from my other friends. A friend had lost his job under suspicious circumstances. A few weeks later he asked me to take him to the bank. As I got near to pick him up I caught a train. He called to say never mind, he would get someone else. A few days later a friend sent out a message to a large number of our friends. This guy lost his job and was running a check cashing con. Can you cash this check for me? I'll pay you $50 if you do. The check is $500. He has no backing funds. You eat the whole amount. He did this to several friends in a few days to amass a few grand and was about to skip town when the cops got him. I can answer this in a literal way. When I was a child, I was playing video games with my little brother. Well, he found our dad's gun and fired it. No one was hurt, but it scared the sugar out of me. My younger brother used to dry fire guns at me, till one time he fired a live one right by my head. Dad came home and wondered why he had a huge black eye. After I had a stroke, I was in a coma and it didn't look like I'd wake up. The doctors asked my wife if they should let me go. I only exist because she said no. I didn't dodge a bullet so much as my wife blocked it for me. Honestly, this made me tear up a little. Please tell your wife that she's incredible. My aunt did something similar. She saved her husband from a heart attack by using her nursing experience and network to get him on the table before it even started. To this day even doctors have no idea what caused his heart attack. But my aunt and your wife are legit superheroes. Not my story, but a girl I knew had had a few drinks and decided to hitchhike home. A town about 40 minutes away from the one she'd been drinking in. Note it is very common for people to hitchhike in this area. She gets picked up by a car of guys. All seems fine until she points out they can drop her off just up ahead. And they keep driving. She had that instant sober feeling. She plays it off like she's clueless and totally down to keep hanging out with them, acting like she's very drunk. Meanwhile they are back in more forested area of the highway. Then she fake dry heaves and says she about to puke, really putting on a show. So they stop to let her out. She books it into the bushes and just doesn't look back until she's safe. Edit. Oh my gosh you guys. Not even my story. Stop giving me awards. To answer some common things in comments. From what I'm aware of, no charges were ever pressed. By the time she made it to safety they would have been long gone. And she had no info like names, license plate, or anything. Yes, smart idea once in that situation. Definitely not smart to be in that situation in the first place though. Edit 2. I just remembered another not mine but equals my mom as a late teen/early 20s. I was with a group of friends out drinking one night and one girl wanted to hitchhike. The others didn't. She gets picked up never to be seen again. Not even her body found. Don't drink and hike, hitch people. When I was in high school we had a cop come talk to us about what to do if we were in the car with someone and things didn't feel right. They said to use the 3 P's and say you desperately gotta puke, gotta pee, or gotta poop, and the fucker more often than not cares more about their car getting soiled than whatever they wanted to do to you, and will let you out. In 1992 I was 16. A bunch of us were about to leave a party and I called shotgun. But my friend Pat kind of wrestled me out of the spot and I wound up jumping in another car. Since the first car was now full, the other driver and I watched as our friend's car skidded into oncoming traffic. Pat was airlifted to the local trauma hospital where his dad told a huge group of us teenagers that Pat had succumbed to his injuries. Maybe that's not exactly bullet dodged, but edit, I guess this is what people mean by a comment blowing up. Pat's driver and my driver were racing each other. The road had just been paved and the shoulder was loose gravel. So when Pat's driver applied their brakes when the passenger side of the car was over the line on the right side of the hashed lane, the passenger tires kept spinning while the driver's side locked up, spinning the car into an oncoming pickup. The oncoming driver was hospitalized and recovered. Pat's driver broke a femur, was convicted of vehicular manslaughter, sentenced to home detention, but was late to get home from high school one day which tripped the ankle monitor and the driver did 30 days. The 3 kids in the back had to be extracted by the jaws of life, broke some bones, got an insurance settlement. However, I don't think I would have died if I got shotgun. We would have left 15 seconds earlier and we wouldn't have hit that oncoming pickup. Or maybe we would have. Similar story. I was going out with my mom and sister when I was in about middle school. I always sat in the passenger side back seat if it was more than me and the driver. My sister decided at the last second that she would stay home, and we got T-boned on the way home in a hit and run. The other car totaled our car, with all the damage on the back passenger seat, where I should have been sitting. I still think about that often. Freshman year of college I had a calc class. It was material I had learned before, but for various reasons they didn't give me transfer credit, so I skipped class quite frequently, though I usually slept in. One morning I find myself awake at 8:30 and not really feeling like sleep. Might as well check in on the class and see what's going on. It was the midterm exam. As a chronic procrastinator, I've been there, but I've also noticed it a day too late and that feels bad, man. When my great aunt passed away I was helping to clean out her house. I'm just dragging everything out of the basement and suddenly my dad is like, whoa. Put that down gently and let's move away from here. So I put the weird metal tube type thing I'm carrying down and get out of there. Turns out it's a mortar shell from when my aunt worked in a munitions factory during WWII. Bomb squad came and took it away. Getting chased by someone with a knife across my apartment. I closed my door at the right moment, so that person ended up stabbing my wooden door instead. The mark was there until I left the apartment a few years later as a constant reminder of what could have been. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.